We're Robin and Steve. In the last episode, we got hit by many storms and survived a very dodgy anchor drag incident. Needless to say, the weather had not been great. On our best days, here's an indication of how it was at Iluka. Too windy to do silks, but as you can see, the breakwaters work. The boat was not rocking around, and so I could do rope, but not for long. After a quick snorkel stop at the corals of Northwest Solitary Island, we pushed on. Past South Solitary Island, toward Coffs Harbour. It's not a perfect shelter, and there were storms on the way. We arrived in Coffs Harbour on race day. Later that night, we were hit by lightning. Our wind indicator had been fried, tied more telltales, and had new parts sent to Mum's house, many miles south. At 5:20, we set off, anticipating winds from the north. We'd even practiced a new way of rigging our whisker pole to pole out our genoa, in anticipation of the northerly winds. But as these telltales tell, it was motoring time. At least we had the East Australian current with us, sometimes doubling our speed. We alternated 3-hour watches for this overnight passage. As the sun rose, we approached Port Stephens, 160 nautical miles and 29 hours later. When approaching from the ocean, all you see is rugged wilderness until this. 11.3 knots, and we weren't even surfing. Thanks to the current, we had lots of daylight to explore the beautiful beach on the northern side of Port Stephens, where we'd wait until the winds changed. Yet again, intimidating storm clouds were building around us. Oh look, a snowman of sand. Now that's art. This sunset got a lot of points. At least 8 out of 10. Next day we crossed to the south side, got some diesel, went snorkeling, and then headed out at 4 a.m. towards Broken Bay. It was quite bumpy, and we had to keep a keen lookout for things like this. Both our eyes and technology confirmed that there was some bad weather on the way. Since swapping to our new boat, we'd done 1,000 nautical miles. Actually, a bit more. Here's that bad weather we heard about. It was a long day of changeable winds and weaving around ships. We wove our way into Broken Bay as the sun started to go down. By now it was nearly Christmas, so finding an anchorage was hard work. But we found a spot, and overnight our boat drew some crazy rabbit ears as it swung around on the anchor. At 5:30 a.m. we set off to the eerie sound of someone playing bagpipes on the cliffs. We even passed a seal just to confirm how far south we were. Even without a wind indicator, we could tell that the wind was much more than the predicted 10 knots and from a different direction. The waves hit the boat with such force that the bathroom door was knocked off its latches twice. Steve reefed the sails right down. It was not this shallow. We've got a fright, but it turned out our depth indicator gets a bit confused when it's over 100 metres deep. Here's me on a canyoning trip to the toilet. As our boat danced in the waves, so did our laundry. It was too rough even to make a cup of tea. Our teapot rolled off the stove, even though it was gimbaled. I really wanted that cup of tea. Anyway, a massive low pressure system was on the way and we needed shelter. And as much as I would have loved to have seen the cliffs right near Sydney, we were tacking way out to sea. It got so bad that we nearly did stop in Sydney. But eventually it calmed down, so we pushed on, past Kurnell Oil Refinery to Port Hacking, where we encountered Christmas Eve mooring boy rage. As Steve was poised to pick up the mooring rope, a joker saw us from far away and hooned in and took it, forcing me to make a quick turn and hunt for an anchorage. So that was our welcome to the Sutherland Shire on Christmas Eve. We pushed upriver and found this gorgeous spot. On Southwest Arm, the Royal National Park, traditional land of the Dharawal people, and also where I grew up. On the way north, we'd sailed to visit Mum, and then we'd been locked out of New South Wales due to COVID. But for now, we were waiting for the right tides, just near this, clumps of rafted up cruisers, celebrating Christmas. It was a funny spot, with Serenity on one side and stinkpot traffic jams going on the other. So we chose to look this way. When I was growing up, we used to take many family trips to Winifred Falls. I was keen to show Steve. We kayaked to the end of the creek and then walked past the beautiful Angophora trees. And then it was there. Winifred Falls. This time the weather was right. The predicted storms did come, and we were glad to be here, with a bit of time to explore. The wildlife here is quite different from that in Tassie, but is familiar because of my childhood. We picked up rubbish as we walked around and relaxed as we waited for the perfect tide to go upriver through the sandbars to Mum's house. A lot had happened between visits and I was pretty excited to get around the corner. Steve took the helm because he knew I'd probably tear up. I'd texted Mum so she knew to wait out and wave for us right up the hill. I've zoomed in here. Hello, Mum. We were going to hang out with Mum for a few days and enjoy some of her favourite walks and see in the new year together. Our boat is out there somewhere. There it is. We sailed here from Tassie in a different boat. Mum had never met this boat. So Steve kayaked in, Mum and I walked down the steep hill so that we could introduce Mum to Sirena. Not everyone could climb out of a kayak onto our boat, but Mum is not nicknamed Nimble Nanny Goat for nothing. Gave her a good tour. Before all heading back up the hill to see the sunset. Join us next time as I do yoga with 2 yoga teachers. mum, and an expert at the cat pose. And as I winched Steve up the mast, a few times as it turned out, and we hope that our second crossing of the Bass Strait is better than our first.